My name is Ingrid Pierce. I'm 31 years old, and a few weeks before Christmas, I overheard my own mother say I was too embarrassing to bring anywhere near my sister's new billionaire in-laws. I was standing just outside the kitchen door, coffee going cold in my hand, when her voice carried clear from the dining room. Your sister's future in-laws are the wealthiest elite in the state. You'll humiliate the whole family. Don't ruin this. She told my dad low but sharp, like I was some loose thread that needed snipping before it unraveled their perfect picture. My sister had just gotten engaged to a billionaire heir, the kind of guy whose family name is on buildings and private jets. And suddenly, my quiet freelance life as a digital marketer spent fixing online brands from my home office in the Cincinnati suburbs was a liability. To them, I was the one who spoke too directly, asked uncomfortable questions about money and business, and never quite matched the polished image they were chasing. They didn't want me at the big Christmas gala. They didn't want me anywhere close to the people they now called family. And they absolutely didn't want anyone knowing I existed in the same bloodline. What they had no clue about was that those same billionaire in-laws had been relying on me for nearly 2 years under my real name to pull their luxury grocery empire back from the edge after everything crashed post-pandemic. I'd rebuilt their online presence, turned their failing digital sales around, and become the quiet force behind numbers they now bragged about. And on the night they worked so hard to keep me hidden, those in-laws ended up staring at a framed photo on their brand new flagship wall, recognizing my face and screaming my name across the entire room. "Oh my God!" Have you ever been treated like the family mistake, the one who needs to disappear so everyone else can shine? Then you know exactly how this feels. Stick around, because the way that Christmas party flipped from exclusion to exposure is wild, and the fallout hits harder than you think. If you've ever felt pushed aside or undervalued by the people who are supposed to have your back, smash that subscribe button right now and drop your story in the comments. Your words could be the push someone else needs to finally stop shrinking for people who never saw their worth. Growing up in our quiet suburb just outside Cincinnati, I learned early that I didn't quite fit the version of normal my parents wanted on display. As a kid, while other children chased each other around backyards at family cookouts, I sat at the picnic table tracking who took second helpings and wondering out loud why certain relatives always drove newer cars than we did. I'd ask my dad things like why he stayed at the same insurance job if the commissions were shrinking, or point out to guests that their stock picks didn't make sense based on what I'd read in the newspaper business section. Adults would chuckle at first, then shift uncomfortably in their lawn chairs. My parents, Marvin and Lorraine Pierce, would shoot me warning looks across the grill smoke before pulling me aside later. "Ingrid, can you just be normal for once?" Mom would whisper, smoothing my hair like she could iron out the questions too. "Smile, talk about school or friends. Don't interrogate people about money." Meanwhile, my younger sister Journey was everything they wished for in a daughter. She had this effortless way of charming everyone, big smiles, perfect small talk, knowing exactly when to compliment someone's outfit or ask about their vacation plans. At those same barbecues, she'd flit from group to group, laughing at jokes and posing for photos, while I lingered on the edges, nursing a soda and analyzing why the host always bought the expensive meat. Dad would beam at her, telling anyone who listened how outgoing she was, how she was going to go far, because she knew how to work a room. Journey ate it up, and honestly, she deserved the praise. She was good at it. But the contrast stung. When I tried joining conversations, my questions derailed them into awkward silences, and suddenly I was the one being steered toward the kids' table. By middle school, the pattern solidified. Journey joined cheerleading and student council, coming home with stories of parties and new friends. I'd hole up in my room experimenting with free website builders, redesigning pages for local businesses that didn't even know I existed. I'd ask Dad about his office budget cuts, suggesting ways they could save on printing, only to get brushed off with, That's adult stuff, Ingrid. Focus on your grades. Mom would sigh and say, "Why can't you be more like Journey? She's so sociable. People love her." It wasn't that they hated me, they just seemed exhausted by how I operated. Journey's report cards came with notes about leadership potential. Mine highlighted strong analytical skills, but added concerns about being too intense in group settings. High school made the divide sharper. Journey became homecoming court, dated the popular guys, and turned every family dinner into a highlight reel of her social wins. I'd sit quietly, then blurt out observations like why the restaurant we were at was losing money on their happy hour specials based on the empty tables. The table would go quiet, forks pausing midair, and Dad would grip his napkin tighter, muttering, "Not now, Ingrid." After one particularly tense Thanksgiving where I pointed out inconsistencies in a relative's investment story, Mom waited until guests left before laying into me. "You make everyone uncomfortable. Just be normal, please. Act like Journey, she knows how to keep things light." Journey, overhearing from the hallway, gave me a sympathetic shrug but didn't defend me. That's when I stopped trying to bridge the gap at family events. Instead, I poured everything into the digital world. In freshman year, I built a basic online store for a neighbor's handmade jewelry side hustle, tweaking product photos and descriptions until sales picked up. By junior year, I was freelancing small gigs, fixing clunky websites for local shops, running simple social media tests that boosted their followers. No one at home noticed much. When I mentioned landing my first paying client, Dad nodded absently and said, "That's nice, but maybe think about a real career, something stable." Mom smiled politely before changing the subject to Journey's latest debate team victory. Journey graduated high school as the shining star, headed to a good college for communications, with everyone predicting she'd land in PR or something glamorous. I went to a state school for marketing, spending nights in the library, learning SEO tricks and analytics tools, while roommates partied. The favoritism never felt malicious, just constant. Journey got the new clothes for events, the louder cheers at graduations, the family photos where she stood front and center. I got gentle suggestions to tone it down, to blend in more, to stop making waves with my directness. By burying myself in online marketing, I found a space where my intensity was an asset. Clients didn't care if I was awkward in person, they cared about results. I taught myself how to read data patterns, how small changes in ad copy or email timing could shift entire revenue lines. It was quiet work done from my laptop, but it felt like control in a world where I otherwise had none. By the time I hit my late 20s, I had turned that early obsession with digital fixes into a full freelance career, working from a small home office I set up in the spare bedroom of my modest apartment. I specialized in digital marketing and branding for small businesses, mostly local shops, independent bakeries, boutique fitness studios, and family-run online stores that couldn't afford big agencies. I'd dive into their messy social accounts, outdated websites, and scattered email lists, then rebuild everything from the ground up. One client was a neighborhood coffee roaster struggling with foot traffic. I overhauled their Instagram strategy, ran targeted ads to nearby zip codes, and set up a simple loyalty program through email that brought regulars back twice as often. Another was a handmade candle maker whose Etsy sales had flatlined. I redesigned product pages, optimized keywords, and created short video ads that tripled her monthly revenue within a quarter. These wins added up quietly. My inbox filled with thank you notes from owners who could finally pay rent or hire part-time help because of the boosts I delivered. I structured my business as a solo LLC, took on 5 to 7 clients at a time, and earned enough to cover my bills comfortably without ever needing to dress up for an office. It wasn't flashy, no corner suite or company car, but it was mine, built on results no one could argue with. Back home, though, none of it registered as real success. When I visited for Sunday dinners or holiday gatherings, conversation always circled back to Journey's corporate climb. She had landed a junior position at one of the top PR firms downtown right out of college, handling accounts for major consumer brands. Mom and Dad couldn't stop talking about it. They'd pull out their phones to show relatives photos of Journey at client launches or networking events, gushing about how she was on track to make associate in record time, or how her boss had singled her out for a high-profile campaign. If I mentioned a recent project like turning around a struggling florist's online orders just in time for Valentine's rush, Dad would nod politely before steering back to Journey. That's interesting, Ingrid, but it's still that online thing, right? Journey's dealing with real boardrooms now. Mom would chime in with, "We're so proud of her. She's in meetings with executives who make big decisions." The comparisons weren't always direct, but they landed the same way every time. At one family birthday dinner, I shared how I'd just signed a year-long retainer with a chain of 3 local bookstores, helping them compete against the big online giants through community-focused campaigns. Journey congratulated me with a quick smile, then launched into her latest win, coordinating a product reveal that got coverage in national magazines. Dad raised his glass to her, saying, "This is the kind of trajectory that opens doors." I sat there stirring my food, feeling the familiar sting of being the sidebar story. It happened at neighborhood gatherings, too. Mom would introduce Journey to old friends as our daughter in PR working with some of the biggest names in the city, while I'd get a vague wave and Ingrid does something with computers from home. When pressed, they'd downplay it. It's freelance marketing, online, nice side income, but we're hoping she'll find something more stable eventually. The subtle digs piled up. During a casual coffee with Mom, she asked if I'd considered applying to Journey's firm for an in-house role. "They have real benefits, Ingrid. Structure. Journey loves it there." I explained that I preferred the flexibility and higher earnings of freelancing, but she just patted my hand and said, "Well, Journey's position comes with so much prestige." Dad echoed it over phone calls, suggesting I network more like Journey did instead of hiding behind a screen. Journey herself never rubbed it in. She'd text me genuine congrats when I shared milestones, but the constant parental spotlight on her path made my achievements feel invisible. I'd land a client referral that doubled my income one year, only to hear at the next family event how Journey had been promoted again, with everyone toasting her future. I stopped bringing up work details after a while. If they couldn't see the value in turning small brands around through smart digital moves, I wouldn't keep trying to prove it at the dinner table. Instead, I doubled down on growing my roster quietly, taking courses on advanced analytics and e-commerce trends during evenings when others might have been out socializing. My bank account reflected the effort steady growth emergency fund built, even some investments started. But in my parents' eyes, it remained that online thing, temporary, until I got serious, like Journey. One ordinary afternoon, about 2 years ago, an email landed in my inbox from an agency I had freelanced for early in my career. The subject line was urgent: a major gourmet grocery chain desperately needing digital rescue. Their online sales had tanked hard after the pandemic, with in-store traffic slow to recover and e-commerce barely covering costs. The agency had exhausted their ideas and remembered my track record with turnarounds. They asked if I could step in fast, anonymously at first, since the client preferred discretion. I agreed and got access to their data dump the same week. The company was Barclay Fine Foods, a luxury chain known for premium organics, artisanal imports, and high-end prepared meals across dozens of locations. Their stores looked impeccable, but the digital side was a mess. Clunky website, abandoned social channels, no real email strategy beyond occasional promotions that bombed. A few days later, my phone rang with an unknown number. The voice on the line was calm but tense. "This is Clarence Barclay. The agency speaks highly of you. Can we talk?" We kept it audio only from the start. He mentioned spotty video connections at their headquarters, but I suspected he just wanted to focus on substance over appearances. It suited me fine. Over that first call, Clarence laid everything out. Competitors like whole food giants and delivery apps were eating their lunch online. Foot traffic relied on loyal locals, but younger customers shopped elsewhere. Their web traffic converted at half the industry average. Abandoned carts were through the roof, and paid ads burned cash with almost no return. The board was pushing for cuts, and he needed someone who could diagnose fast and execute faster. I asked for full access to their platforms, Google Analytics ad accounts, email service customer database. Within a week, I was deep in the numbers. The problems jumped out immediately. Their site loaded slowly on mobile. Search functionality was broken, product images looked amateur, and checkout required too many steps. Social posts were sporadic corporate announcements that got zero engagement. Email lists hadn't been segmented in years, so blasts went to everyone regardless of purchase history. I put together a no-fluff report. Static branding that felt outdated, no personalized recommendations, weak retargeting, and zero loyalty incentives in a market where apps rewarded every purchase. Clarence called back after reviewing it. This is exactly what we've been missing. No one's laid it out this clearly. What do you propose? My plan was aggressive but data-backed. First, a full rebrand for digital channels, fresh visuals, streamlined navigation, mobile-first design. We'd highlight curated stories around products like farmer partnerships or chef recipes to build emotional connection. Then targeted social campaigns focusing on high-intent audiences, foodies in specific cities, organic shoppers, busy professionals wanting quick premium meals. The big piece was a new loyalty program tied to an app and email flows. Points for every dollar spent online or in-store, exclusive early access to limited items, personalized offers based on past buys, like suggesting wines that paired with recent cheese purchases. I'd structure it with tiers to encourage bigger baskets plus referral bonuses to grow organically. Clarence hesitated only briefly on the budget shift, pulling from underperforming traditional ads into digital testing. "We've got little left to lose," he said. "Run it." I made part of my fee performance-based. If key metrics didn't improve, I'd earn less. It aligned us both. We rolled out phases quickly. Site redesign launched first, cutting load times, and simplifying checkout. Conversion rates jumped 20% almost overnight. Social got daily content with user-generated prompts and influencer partnerships in food niches. Emails shifted to segmented flows, welcome series for new signups, abandoned cart reminders, birthday rewards. The loyalty app went live 4 months in. Signups exceeded projections because we gated popular items behind points, thresholds, creating urgency. Average order values climbed as customers chased tiers and repeat purchases spiked. Clarence checked in weekly at first, then monthly as momentum built. Calls grew lighter. He'd share board feedback, how occupancy forecasts improved because online orders eased in-store rushes. One evening, he sounded almost relieved. "Ingrid, you've pulled us out of a hole we didn't see a way through. The numbers are holding strong, and we're expanding digital budgets now instead of cutting." As the first full year wrapped, he floated the idea of recognition. "We're planning a contributors wall at our new flagship here in Cincinnati, framed profiles of key partners who made this recovery happen. We'd love your photo and bio up there." I resisted at first, preferring the background, but he insisted it would inspire their team. I sent a clean, professional headshot and short description, digital branding strategist behind the online resurgence. He replied quickly, "Perfect. This wall will greet everyone walking in, staff, partners, customers. Your work deserves that spotlight." His gratitude felt genuine, no strings beyond the ongoing contract we renewed. Several months after the turnaround started paying off, Journey called me out of the blue one Saturday morning, her voice bubbling in a way I hadn't heard since her big promotions. She didn't waste time on small talk. "Ingrid, I'm engaged." The story spilled out fast. She'd met Wyatt Barclay at a charity auction downtown, where his family was the main sponsor. He was charming, driven the sole heir to the entire Barclay Fine Foods empire. They'd been dating quietly for a few months, and he proposed during a weekend getaway with a ring that apparently made headlines in local society pages. I congratulated her right away, meaning it. Journey sounded genuinely happy, and Wyatt seemed to treat her well from everything she shared. But when I asked for details about the proposal, she laughed and said she'd tell everyone in person soon. Mom and Dad were already planning a family celebration dinner. That dinner happened the next weekend. I drove over to the house bringing a bottle of champagne I'd picked up on a whim. The moment I walked in, the energy hit different. Mom rushed over for a hug, eyes shining, while Dad shook my hand with extra enthusiasm before pulling Journey into the living room spotlight. Journey held out her hand, the diamond catching every light, and the room erupted in excited chatter. They recounted the story together, how Wyatt got down on one knee overlooking a lake, how his parents, Clarence and Evelyn Barclay, had welcomed Journey like their own from the first dinner. Dad kept repeating how this connection was life-changing, how the Barclays were the kind of family everyone in Ohio respected. Mom scrolled through photos on her phone showing Wyatt's smile, the ring close-ups, even shots of the Barclay flagship store under renovation for a grand reopening. I smiled, raised my glass when they toasted, and told Journey she deserved every bit of it. But as the evening wore on, the conversation shifted entirely to wedding ideas and how this marriage would open doors none of us had imagined. Dad talked about potential invitations to exclusive events. Mom speculated on venues the Barclays might suggest. My attempts to join in asking about Journey's preferences or timelines got polite nods before the focus swung back to the prestige angle. When I mentioned I'd be happy to help with any digital aspects like a wedding hashtag campaign or guest RSVP site, Mom waved it off gently. "Oh, honey, the Barclays have people for that. This is going to be high level." Journey gave me an appreciative look, but didn't push it. By dessert, I felt like a guest at my own family table listening to plans that clearly didn't need my input. The exclusion sharpened over the following weeks. Group texts flew about dress shopping trips and menu tastings with Evelyn Barclay, but I wasn't added until Journey sent a separate message apologizing for the oversight. When I offered to host a small engagement toast at my place, Mom replied that the Barclays were handling the big announcements. Then came the conversation I wasn't meant to hear. It was a crisp evening a few weeks before Christmas, and I'd stopped by unannounced to drop off a small gift for Journey, an engraved frame for one of her proposal photos. Voices drifted from the kitchen as I approached the door. Dad was saying, "This Christmas gala at the new flagship is huge. Charity donors, politicians, everyone who matters. Wyatt's parents are combining it with the engagement announcement." Mom responded quickly, "Exactly. We can't have anything derail that first impression." Journey added, "Ingrid means well, but you know how she is, blunt questions diving into business talk. The Barclays are used to polished events." Dad sighed. "She's our daughter, but in that crowd she'd stand out for all the wrong reasons. Better to keep it simple, tell her it's a small family thing or something." Mom agreed. "Don't ruin this for Journey. Your future in-laws are the elite. Ingrid would humiliate us." I froze in the hallway, gift bag heavy in my hand. The words cut deeper than any direct confrontation ever had. They weren't angry. They were strategic, calculating how to present the perfect family unit without me complicating it. I backed out quietly, drove home in silence, and set the unopened gift on my shelf. The hurt settled in layers. First, the rejection, being deliberately left out of my own sister's milestone. Then the realization that they saw me as a risk, a flaw to hide for the sake of status. I'd built real value in spaces they didn't understand yet. Here I was, still the one who didn't fit their image. Invitations went out soon after, gold-embossed cards for the grand Christmas gala at the flagship store, a glittering mix of holiday charity store unveiling and official engagement celebration. My parents posted subtle hints online about the excitement. Journey texted a general update but never mentioned my attendance. I didn't push. If they wanted me invisible, I'd stay that way for now. The night of the gala finally arrived, cold air snapping outside as the city lit up for the holidays. I stayed home, at first curled on the couch with takeout and my laptop open to the latest Barclay dashboards. Photos started trickling in from mom glittering entrances, towering holiday trees inside the flagship store, champagne flutes catching the lights. Journey sent a quick video of her and Wyatt posing near a massive charity display, both dressed like they belonged on a magazine cover. Dad's captions bragged about being front row for the big reveal. Then, an email notification pinged from Clarence Barkley himself. Subject: personal invitation. Tonight's celebration. He wrote that as a key contributor to their success, they wanted me there for a special acknowledgement during the program. No mention of family ties, just professional gratitude and a VIP entry code attached. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, weighing whether to go or let the exclusion stand. Curiosity won. I chose a simple black dress that felt appropriate without trying too hard, drove downtown and arrived earlier than most guests. The new flagship gleamed expansive aisles of premium displays, holiday garlands draping high ceilings, soft jazz from a live quartet. Staff in crisp uniforms directed early arrivals toward a central wall draped in velvet fabric. I checked in with my code, got a discreet badge marking me as a strategic partner, and wandered toward the covered display. That's when a familiar voice cut through the murmur. Ingrid, holy cow, Ingrid Pierce. Quinn Drake, an old collaborator from my early agency days, strode over with a huge grin. He'd moved in-house at Barclay a year ago for their marketing team. He pulled me into a quick hug before stepping back. "What are you doing here?" "Wait, this is your work, isn't it? The whole digital overhaul." Before I could answer quietly, he raised his voice excitedly. "Everyone, this is the genius behind our online explosion. Ingrid fixed everything." Heads turned, a few staff members nodding recognition from internal meetings. Quinn kept going, oblivious to the volume. "You saved us, seriously." The attention felt awkward but manageable until Clarence and Evelyn Barclay approached, drawn by the commotion. Clarence smiled wide. "Quinn's right. We're thrilled you're here." Evelyn added warmly, "We've been looking forward to putting a face to the name in person." Guests gathered as the program began. Clarence took the stage first, thanking donors and staff, then turned to the draped wall. "This year tested us, but key partners pulled us through. Tonight, we honor them." The velvet dropped, revealing sleek frames with photos and plaques highlighting major contributions. My headshot sat prominently near the center, gold-bordered with a caption, "Digital Branding Strategist Ingrid Pierce, Architect of Our Online Resurgence." The description outlined the rebranding, loyalty system, and revenue growth tied directly to my strategies. The room applauded politely at first, then Clarence pointed straight at me. "And she's here tonight." Evelyn's eyes widened as she connected the dots, scanning the crowd until landing on Journey nearby. "Ingrid Pierce, your Journey's sister." Her voice carried delighted surprise, turning into a joyful exclamation. "Oh my God, Ingrid!" Clarence echoed it louder, beaming. "Journey's sister is our Ingrid, the one who's been steering our digital ship." The scream of recognition rippled. Evelyn repeated, "Oh my God!" with genuine shock and pleasure, pulling me toward the stage as guests murmured and turned. Journey's face drained of color mid-pose with Wyatt. Mom clutched Dad's arm, mouth open. Dad stared like he'd seen a ghost, grip tightening on his glass. The applause shifted tone, curious buzzing, as people connected the family link. Clarence addressed them directly from the microphone, tone polite but pointed. "We had no idea our game changer was family. You've been singing her sister's praises, but Ingrid's the one who kept our lights on." Evelyn laughed, trying to lighten it. "We've talked about her nonstop internally. Imagine our surprise." Nearby guests exchanged glances. Quinn, still beside me, whispered, "This is epic." Journey forced a smile, but her eyes darted to Mom and Dad, who looked frozen in place. The public contrast hit hard. My parents' careful exclusion now spotlighted for everyone to see. Whispers spread about how the hidden sister turned out to be the honored partner. Wyatt looked uncomfortable shifting beside Journey. I stood there under the lights badge visible as the Barclays pulled me into photos and introductions. The room's energy flipped completely, their warmth toward me undeniable. Later, away from the crowd in a side room off the main floor, my family found me. Mom reached me first, eyes wide and voice low. "Ingrid, how could you not tell us we look like idiots out there?" Dad stood behind her, face flushed, nodding agreement. Journey hovered nearby with Wyatt, her expression a mix of shock and frustration. I stayed calm, leaning against a table. "Tell you what, that I was working with the Barclays. You never asked what I actually do." Dad jumped in. "You knew this was huge for us for Journey. If we'd known, we would have included you, prepared everyone." Mom added quickly, "Exactly. You let us walk in blind. People are talking now, wondering why we didn't mention our own daughter was involved." Journey spoke up, voice tight. "You could have said something when I told you about the engagement. This blindsided everyone, Ingrid. It's my night too." Their words landed like accusations, shifting blame onto me for not volunteering information they never valued before. I felt the years of dismissal crystallize in that moment. "You decided I was an embarrassment weeks ago," I said evenly. "You planned to keep me out so nothing risked your perfect image. I didn't owe you a warning." Mom's eyes teared up. "We were protecting the opportunity. You know how direct you can be, it scares people off." Dad tried authority. "Family sticks together. You should have thought about how this reflected on all of us." Journey glanced toward the door where guests still mingled. "Can we just smooth this over, smile for photos, act like we knew that was it?" I'd spent too long adjusting myself for their comfort. "No," I said. "I'm done adjusting. You wanted a family version without me in it, now you have the consequences." Mom reached for my arm. "Ingrid, don't be dramatic. We're still your parents." I stepped back. "And I'm still your daughter, the one you hid. But I won't beg for a seat at a table where I'm only welcome when convenient." I looked at Journey. "Congrats on everything. Truly. But this ends here." Dad's voice rose slightly. "You can't just walk away over one misunderstanding." "It's not one," I replied. "It's every time you compared, downplayed, excluded. I'm choosing myself now." I left the room without waiting for more. Walked past the wall, past the lingering stares out into the cold night. Drove home, blocked their numbers before bed. No texts, no calls. Just silence I finally controlled. Months later, the fallout settled in ways they couldn't hide. Clarence reached out with a formal long-term contract, exclusive digital strategy for all expansions, solid retainers, equity options discussed. I signed without hesitation, work that challenged and rewarded me on my terms. Journey and Wyatt married that summer, a scaled-back event compared to original plans. The Barclays attended politely but distanced the warmth reserved for me, shifted priorities. Whispers circulated that the alliance wasn't as seamless as advertised. Mom and Dad faced questions at neighborhood gatherings: why the sudden quiet about their older daughter? Why no family photos, including me, at the wedding? Invites to certain circles dried up. Status they'd chased slipped when the full story trickled out. I heard bits through mutual contacts, awkward explanations, deflected blame. They never reached out directly after I blocked them. If you've ever felt like the family member they tried to hide or downplay just to chase an image, know this: your worth isn't decided by how well you fit someone else's narrative. Real success comes from recognizing your own value, building a life that honors it, and walking away from relationships that demand. You diminish yourself to make them comfortable. Toxic favoritism and conditional acceptance don't define you. They only highlight why boundaries are necessary. You deserve connections that celebrate you fully, not ones that edit you out. Choosing independence over forced belonging isn't selfish. It's survival. and on the other side is a peace they can't touch. Thank you so much for listening to my story all the way to the end. I wish you all strength, health, and the courage to stand in your own light. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Your stories matter too. Drop them in the comments. See you in the next one.